Hi, welcome to my second lecture on the Nimzo-Indian defense, which is a queen's pawn opening which starts off by d4, knight f6. Once again, the knight stops white from playing e4. White plays c4, controlling the center. Black plays e6, controlling d5 and freeing his king's bishop. And white plays knight c3, hoping to prepare to play e4, and then black plays bishop to b4, pinning the knight. And this is the start of the Nimzo-Indian. Last time I covered the Rubinstein variation, where white plays e3. This time I'm going to cover where white now plays queen to c2, which is known as the classical variation. The classical variation is known as basically like the safe variation, because if black captures the knight, white plans on recapturing with the queen, and thereby white would have the bishop pair, which is an advantage. And then also know white didn't have to compensate his pawn structure, meaning usually if white doesn't play the queen, white will get doubled c-pawns, which is a weakness. But what happens though is that in order to do this, the white queen is now moving several times instead of, white should probably be developing during that time. So what's going to happen is that the queen is sort of wasting time, black gets these moves to develop pieces. So the normal continuation is from the classical line is well, there's two. Hopefully I have a chance to cover the other one, but the main variation is where black plays c5, striking at the center. Normally in these openings where black first plays the knight here, black will delay controlling the center with the pawns. First try to control the pieces, and then with the pawns. But here black is striking the center with a flank pawn. And then what the black is going to do is just take the pawn, because now if black recaptures with the bishop, black is wasting a move. But here, black is just going to castle. And as I noted in my previous lecture, if black was decided to move its d-pawn here, it would expose the king along this diagonal. So let's say if black were to move this pawn, the queen would just come here, giving check, and then forking the bishop again. So first, black just castles. No hurry. It's no rush to capture the pawn. Now, white puts the question to the bishop, and black now captures the pawn. And then white will now develop the knight, because you got to think, well, what is white has to develop one of the pieces. It wants to castle, but it has to get its bishop and knight out of the way. It could develop the bishop, but maybe white doesn't know exactly where to place this black bishop here. And the piece that seems very logical definitely is the knight. And there's a saying, develop knights before bishops, because usually you'll know where to develop the knight before the bishop. In this case, we know where to develop the knight. Black will play b6, planning to put the bishop on the long diagonal, attacking. And then now black will develop the queen's bishop, pinning the knight to the queen. If you don't know, usually they say that this pin to the queen is even stronger after the king is castled. It's even more annoying. Just to let you know, if you're playing a game, if the king is not castled, there's sometimes black can break this pin in different ways. So now black will play the bishop to b7, carrying out its known strategy. White will play e4. Obviously the knight cannot take. and threatening to play e5, winning the knight. And now black will play h6. White will back the bishop up. And now black will play the bishop back to e7, releasing the pin. That is one line in the classical variation. What I want to do is back up to about move 4, believe it or not, and show you another line in this classical variation which is also commonly played, which is a little different. So this is sort of one view on the classical variation. So let me back up. So I've got to move back to black's 4th move. So the queen just moved. And then normally I just cover the line where black plays c5, but the other choice from black is actually play castles first. Black castles. And now white again will put the question to the bishop, and the bishop will capture the knight. Queen takes. And then black will play b6. Like common strategy in the Nimzo-Indian is to put this bishop on the long diagonal. And now black plays bishop to g5, sorry, pinning the knight. And this is now even more annoying because in the last variation we look at, black still had that bishop where it could come back and break the pin. But now king is castled, no black bishop. Now very annoying pin. Black will now play bishop to b7, and if you look at this now, obviously white cannot move the g-pawn. We'll lose the rook, and how's white to develop how to get that bishop out? Well, white just says, you know what, I'm going to play f3, sort of blunting the bishop, meaning now sort of have this pawn chain right here. And this bishop sort of hits these pawns and sort of doing nothing. But it is attacking. Obviously, the king is probably not going to, the white king's probably not going to castle the queen's side. The white king's probably going to stay on the king's side, so this bishop is attacking the king's side. Black will now play h6. And the bishop will just back up, keeping the pin. And black will play d5, striking at the center. And also, black plans on playing the knight to here to give support to this knight, so the queen can move, sort of, so the queen can get out. Black will play e3, letting the bishop out. Now obviously the plan for white is to put the bishop there and put the knight here. And then technically white could castle, or could even put the king here. So that's its basic plan. Now black plays knight on b to d7. Like I said before, now this knight here is protected. Black plans on moving this pawn up here, getting the queen out. Obviously the queen is probably, this pawn comes up, the queen's not going to come to e7, it's probably going to come to c7, and then this rook over here can follow right behind, because this line here is probably going to be open. So now white takes the d-pawn. White is giving up some central control, but the idea that if white has the two bishop, it wants to open the position where the bishops are better. So, but now, interesting enough, black actually has a very cute move now. Knight takes, and now actually both queens are in take. The normal continuation is white takes the queen, black takes the queen. Okay, that does it about for this lecture and for the Nimzo-Indian defense.